Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. The Game Changer Radio Network.
Recruiting all of our partners towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right, let's go. It's Tuesday. How you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Tuesday, May 26th. 148 days into the new year, just 217 days left. We are live from the City of Angel Studios right here in downtown Burbank, California. COA Vapor, makers of the Fade to Black e-juice. It's called Fader Loops. It's tasty. Just go to the COA banner, City of Angels banner, COA banner at jimmychurchradio.com. You can use the promo code Jimmy. Get yourself the Fader Not Special. It's called free shipping. Good stuff. Tasty. It'll take you back. For KJCR and the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planets, I am your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking tonight, everybody? I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. And tonight, we have a very special guest. Dr. Carmen Boulter is back with us live from Canada, the Great White North. We've got some very, very important breaking news that we're going to do tonight with Carmen. I'm really looking forward to it. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel will be with us. And Bryce did tweet. You know, I got tweeted by a former CNN correspondent today. It was the first time for everything. Kind of feels good. Right on, Bryce. Bryce said, everybody's got to read this article. All of the Fader Knots. I said, okay, let's do this. So I retweeted it, and I sent it out a couple of times. So go read the article. It's very interesting. It's over on LinkedIn. That's where he posts his stuff today. I'm sure you have access to it. Do you have to be a member of LinkedIn? I don't know. Thursday, by the way, tomorrow night is Bryce Zabel. Thursday, we're going to do a best of replay because we're going to be on the road. We're going to be doing our best Jack Kerouac. We're going to be on the road, just like Space Boy. Space Boy is somewhere in New Mexico, if you've seen his tweets come across the wire. And he's on the road. We'll be hitting the road Thursday morning. And we will arrive in Joshua Tree Thursday afternoon. And like I said, Thursday night, we're going to have a little dinner. And then I think we're going to make ourselves available. How could we not? How could we not make ourselves available? So whoever's in town, let Rita know where you are at. And I'm sure all of you guys got your secret communications going on. I know nothing. I swear to you. I'm just a guy that's going to be getting in a car with a box of T-shirts on Thursday. I know nothing. You guys know all the secrets. But anyway, so Thursday night we'll make ourselves available. And then Friday, of course, is our big Contact in the Desert Live special event. And I was looking over the speakers, the guest for the show Friday night. But it's a special event, so you're going to have to wait. But it's going to be really cool. So that'll be Friday night. Big salute to the proud men and women in uniform all around the world fighting the good fight for us. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us. And you couldn't hear me right now. And I really need you to think about that. Are we still part of, today technically is still Memorial Day weekend, right? It's like a 4-day weekend. I wouldn't know because that's all we do is work. But it's a 4-day weekend, right? So today is technically still Memorial Day. So our thoughts to everybody that gave themselves the ultimate price so selfishly. Okay. All right. There you go. Tonight. Oh, last night. The faders.org was down, and any correspondence, any questions about that contact method, you know how to email him, and he will answer all your questions. Okay? All right. I want to get that out of the way. Studio Dome, the SD1, we're still doing that promotion. And one of the things, a couple of things have slipped between the cracks, and one of those is the new promotion. It didn't slip between the cracks, but it sort of got pushed back to the back burner until we get CITD done, which we will do this week. And then we will start this new Studio Dome promotion on a new product, and we're going to do that next week. And I'm excited about that. In the meantime, the SD1 is still on promotion. The Fader Night Special is $40 off of the list price. It's $99.99. It's $59.99. And enter the promo code Jimmy. That's all you got to do. All right? And it's free shipping and $59.99. Anybody ask any Fader Not right now. Ask them, what is that speaker like? Tweet it out. Ask them. And they're going to tell you that thing is the bomb. Everybody that orders one, I should post. I've got hundreds of emails. Everybody takes a picture and posts. So I'm just going to say. Everybody loves it. Everybody wants to take a picture of it after they get it. All right, let's get this show cracking. We are in possession of the new T-shirts. I was going to say a few hundred, but it's more than that. Man, I don't even know how many we have, but it's a buttload, and we're going out to CITD with them now. Obviously, they're for sale, but everybody that gets one, we have some special Fader Not crew shirts. Oh, did I let that slip? Dang it. I let that slip. But we have some special one-of-a-kinds that we're going to be handing out too as well. But I want everybody to take a picture with these. I think the logo, I wanted it huge. I think it's too big. But anyway, let's get the show cracking. I'm fired up. And tonight, Carmen Boulter is with us. Again, tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel. Thursday night, we're taking off. It'll be a best of replay on KGRA The Planet. And then Friday night is the big show, the really big show out at CITD. Okay, today, Lenny Kravitz. That's right. Lenny Kravitz is 51 years old. Stevie Nicks today is 67 years old. Happy birthday, Stevie. Yeah, she still got the pipes, too. Hank Williams Jr. today is 66. Man, it's like an all-musicians day. No, it's not, because Matt Stone today is 44. You know, Matt Stone, South Park, Basketball. Basketball is a funny movie, by the way. Anybody that wants to rag on that, they got it all wrong, man. Basketball was good. Today, actress Pam Grier is 66. We know and love her from Jackie Brown, Foxy Brown. Remember Foxy Brown? Anybody see that? The blaxploitation film. Jackie Brown, Pam Grier, 66 years old. Also today, Bobcat Goldthwait is 53. And I need a moment of silence. Our dead guy's birthday today is Miles Davis. But, Dad, it's Miles. Miles Davis, 1926 to 1991, died at the age of 65. I would say out of all the jazz cats, out of any musician, probably Miles changed it more than anybody else. And, I mean, he took it upon himself to break every single musical rule out there. That was his job. He woke up in the morning and it's just like, who can I screw over today in the musical world? And that's what he did. And probably nobody changed my life. Hey, you got your Eddie Van Halen. You know what I mean? You got your Miles Davis. It's kind of like that. Eddie was a game changer. You know what I mean? The game changers. Miles was that for all musicians. Everybody looks up to Miles. But anyway, his most famous album, by the way, was Kind of Blue, which was released in 1959. And it was voted in as a national treasure by the House of Representatives in 2009 on its 50th birthday. What more can you say? But to me, it wasn't his best. His best for me, and this is me, it's personal, music is personal, but for me, Sketches of Spain. Sketches of Spain. Rita will tell you how many times I played that album in its entirety in the last 20 years. Love Sketches of Spain. But also Bitches Brew. Bitches Brew was another game changer, and that's what he was. He was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006, 15 years after his death. And if you remember also his 1965 lineup of his quintet, check this out. It consisted of Wayne Shorter on sax, Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, and Tony Williams on drums. That's your backup band. That's your back. You got Herbie and Ron Carter, Wayne Shorter, just in case. That's your backup band. That's how great Miles Davis was. He died on September 28th, 1991 from combined effects of a stroke, pneumonia. He had respiratory failure. Died right here in Santa Monica, California at the age of 65. Now, I'm going to help you out right now. We're heading into a commercial break, and you know what the Twitter question is. What is your favorite Miles Davis recording? And I'm going to help you out right now. There's only one answer. Even if you don't like jazz, you're in a conversation, you're at a party, and somebody's talking jazz, and somebody brings up Miles Davis, and they turn to you and they go, hey, what's your favorite Miles Davis song? And you just go right in the eyeballs, all of them. And that's the right answer. Happy birthday, Miles Davis. And I really mean that. Sketches of Spain, Bitches Brew, and this is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us from the Great White North. We have some incredible breaking news happening right here, only here on Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow us on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And I'll be back in just a minute with all the news that you don't know nothing about. And I'll throw in some fader facts for good measure. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader Knots rock.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, the Tuesday edition. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, your oh-so-humble host. What is cracking, everybody? Tonight, Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel. And I got to tell you, I got a care package today in the mail from Les. I thought it was mine. There's a story behind that. You'll find out at CITV. But in it, let's just say this. Took my Power Bites today. Love my Power Bites. Hey, have you noticed the smell of vitamins when you open up the bottle, right? And you just, and that smell of vitamins, man, what is that all about? You just can't wait till you smell them, and you just can't wait to take them, can you? Love my Power Bites. Power Bites is a complete multivitamin mineral formula designed to naturally boost your energy. It works for me. I take it every day. This multivitamin goes to work. It goes to work fast. It is now my morning ritual. The Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company is a dedicated nutritionist, and they've been producing Power Bites for over 20 years right here in the United States of America. They produce high-quality nutritional, dietary, and health supplements in small, fresh, potent batches, and they ship direct to you. To order, just go to their website. It's energywave.com. That's energywave.com. Use the promo code KGRA and get free shipping on your order. You can call right now, 1-800-TURTLE-5. That's 1-800-TURTLE-5. Live operators are standing by. 1-800-887-8535. Power Bites. And today I combined Power Bites with Les's secret eyedropper bottle of burn juice. That's all I got to say. Les, you are the man. Thank you. Consider it stolen. On this day in history, in 1897, Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, goes on sale. In 1897. I thought it was older than that, but it was on this day in history. Also, in 1960, the United States charged the Soviets with espionage. It was on. 1927, the last of the Model Ts rolled off the production line at Ford. 15 million were produced. Every man, woman, and child in the United States at that time was driving a Model T. Fader facts. Let's go. Let's make today the reason why you got out of bed. Every day is short. Your minutes are clicking by. Every minute that goes by, you just need to learn something else. So let me help you out. The Mayan long count calendar never foretold doomsday. That's a Fader fact. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Send them my way. Another Fader fact. Crossing the largest known impact crater of any planet in the solar system, which is Mars Hellas, would be like driving from Atlanta to Albuquerque. Just ask Spaceboy, because he's doing that right now. He's going to Texas. Tejas to Joshua Tree. A new lighting system, this is a good fader fact right here. A new lighting system runs on glowing bacteria that eat poo-poo. That's right. The air flowing through a Boeing 767 engine at takeoff power could inflate a Goodyear blimp in just 7 seconds. It's a fader fact. Rodents in the shrew family must eat 3.3 times their own weight every 24 hours to avoid starvation. And that is a fader fact. You gotta love it. Aren't you glad you're here? Aren't you glad you're here? I don't know who writes this stuff. It's good, though. It's good. I believe most of it, by the way. I'm not buying. All right. Here you go. All the news you know nothing about. This is breaking right before the show tonight. A sophisticated organized crime syndicate used the IRS website to steal tax forms full of personal financial information on 104,000 taxpayers, the IRS said today. Until the IRS discovered the latest data leak, its website provided a service called Get Transcript. It's an easy way to download several years of tax forms for tasks like applying for a mortgage or college financial aid. And can you say, oops? An unnamed cyber mafia used this app to download forms full of personal information. They posed as legitimate taxpayers and tried to download forms on 200,000 people between this past February and this month. They got away with half of them. The crooks used about 15,000 of them to go back and claim tax refunds in other people's names. But the potential damage is much worse. IRS Commissioner John Koskinen says he believes the criminals' true mission was to gather vast amounts of personal information, and armed with that info, fraudsters can now open up bank accounts, credit lines, and steal tax refunds in the future. Can you say new Social Security numbers are being distributed right now? Oh, man. I would love that to happen to me. I would. Because I would just come back at the IRS and I would just, okay, enough of that. I've got national tax experts in my corner. All right. Philip Zimmerman, creator of the most widely used encryption systems, has moved his company to Switzerland, claiming societies need to roll back surveillance tactics. Expressing his concerns about mass surveillance, Zimmerman told The Guardian that every dystopian society has excessive surveillance, but now we see even Western democracies like the U.S. and England moving that way. Zimmerman is the inventor of the encryption program Pretty Good Privacy, the PGP, as well as the co-founder of a 3-year-old encryption startup called Silent Circle. In addition to Silent Circle and PGP, Zimmerman also played a role in developing the Black Phone, the world's most spy-resistant phone. In addition to its sealed operating system largely preventing data leaks, Silent Circle is used on the phone to encode all calls, text, and contacts. The second generation of the phone, costing around $700, is expected to be released this year. All right, it's going to be followed by a tablet device. Here you go, Fader Knots. Taco Bell and Pizza Hut say they're getting rid of artificial colors and flavors, making them the latest in the big food companies scrambling to distance themselves from ingredients people might find unappetizing. Now check this. Instead of black pepper flavor, Taco Bell will start using actual black pepper. What? Artificial dye number 6, yellow, will be removed from its nacho cheese. Blue number 1 will be removed from its avocado ranch dressing. And carmine, a bright pigment, will be removed from its red tortilla strips. Tasty. Pizza Hut says it will remove artificial flavors and colors by the end of July, It said it will start listing all of the ingredients online once the changes are completed. And I'm just going to say right here, Pizza Hut really had artificial flavors and colors? You know, Taco Bell, I get it, but really? Your pizza? Your pizza? Well, after July, it's going to be funny. I wonder what color that nacho cheese sauce is going to be once they take the yellow out. I wonder what the Canadian version of it is, you know. A Kenyan lawyer. This goes right into the sicko file, and I need you guys just to sit down and listen to this. A Kenyan lawyer has offered U.S. President Barack Obama 50 cows and other assorted livestock in exchange for his 16-year-old daughter Malia's hand in marriage. Reports came out today. Felix Caprano says he is willing to pay 50 cows, I'm not making this up, 50 cows, 70 sheep, and 30 goats in order to fulfill his dream of marrying the first daughter. Listen to this. Check this. I'm quoting here. I got interested in her in 2008, he said in an interview with a Nairobian newspaper. At the time, President Obama was running for office, and Malia was 10 years old. How sick is this? Obama's Kenyan grandmother, who is in her early 90s, still lives in Kogelo in western Kenya, home to a number of the president's relatives in Kenya. And listen to this quote. I'm going to end on this. He went on to say, I am currently drafting a letter to Obama asking him to please have Malia accompany him for this next trip. I hope the embassy will pass on the letter to him. Dude. Oh, man, let's see. I got time for one more. Then we'll bring in Carmen. NASA on Tuesday selected 9 science instruments it believes will be the best to address the burning question about whether Jupiter's ocean-bearing moon Europa has any indications of life. The suite of instruments includes cameras, heat mappers, chemical analyzers, surface-penetrating radar, and a sample collector that may be able to directly study particles from Europa's underground ocean that are shot into space in an erupting plume. NASA is in the early planning stages of a robotic spacecraft that would make about 45 flybys of Europa over a 2.5-year mission. Launch is targeted for around 2022. If you remember, at the end of 2010, you remember 2001 A Space Odyssey, and then 2010, you remember the movie. You remember what the message was from them at the end of the movie? This is my memory. It was, you can have any planet in the universe. Europa is ours, end quote. And I just got to say, Stanley knew something. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. It is the Tuesday edition. Tonight, Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us. Breaking news on a discovery out of Egypt. This is big stuff going down tonight on the show. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel. Of course, Friday night, CITD. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Follow us on Twitter. Shoot me an email. Do something. Fade or not. Get ready.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fader-Knots and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of fruity, loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fade or Not special. That's www.coavapor.com. Gobekli Tepe.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fade or Not. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy, Gobekli Tepe. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, the Tuesday edition. Tonight, Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us live from Canada, the Great White North, our good friends up there. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel will be with us. And again, Thursday will be a best of. Friday, we are live from Joshua Tree, California at Contact in the Desert. And I am ready. The good doctor is with us in the batter's box. Dr. Carmen Boulter is a professor at the University of Calgary in Canada. She teaches in the Graduate Division of Educational Research in the Faculty of Education. She has been researching and writing about the sacred feminine in ancient Egypt and the goddesses around the world for the last 2 decades. Her book, Angels and Archetypes, an evolutionary map of feminine consciousness, traces fragments of information about matriarchal cultures in pre-dynastic Egypt, prehistoric Greece, and around the world. Dr. Carmen Boulter is the creative fire behind the Pyramid Code, one of my favorite documentary series of all time, period, end of story. She is the director, producer, and writer of the series. Carmen has an unshakable passion for Egypt. She has traveled there 25 times. I'm sure there's an update. It's probably more like 40 times. I would like to welcome back to the program Dr. Carmen Boulter. Doctor, are you with us?
I sure am. Hi, Jimmy.
How are you? And Carmen, can I drop doctor for the next 2.5 hours? It's intimidating.
Okay. Okay.
Is that okay? Because,
absolutely.
Because I'll just continue because it's just the way that it should be. But out of respect, if we could just go with Carmen, that'd be awesome.
Sure.
So let me say this. I'm going to start here. I kind of leaked in the intro of the show. There was a little chatter going around the internet, and so I kind of leaked at the beginning of the show that tonight's going to be a very important evening. We have some breaking news about discovery in Egypt. I let it go there, but before we get to that, I just want to say the last time that you were on with us, I don't think, and I don't say this to many guests, I don't think I had that much positive feedback after a show from both the male and female side of the audience, which doesn't matter. All audience members are the same. I'm saying that the email was balanced from across the board about what a positive, amazing show that was. And I came away from that show, Carmen, seriously feeling like I made a friend, and I was enlightened that day, and I was a better man for it after that show. So before we get started tonight, I want to thank you for that last broadcast. I know tonight That puts tonight on a high pedestal, doesn't it? But it was just a great show last time, and thank you for that. And are you ready to have another one tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do this. Let's start. Let's back up a few years, and let's talk about how many times you've been to Egypt, why you were there, what the attraction was, and then we'll kind of set up what we're going to talk about for the rest of the evening. How's that?
Sure. Well, it's actually 29 times, and I went there the first time in 1977. And the fuel was fired up in me when I was a little girl, and I started seeing pictures on my father's bookshelf of the Sphinx and the pyramids and that sort of thing, and I was determined to go. And I ended up going there when I was a young woman, and so much happened for me when I was there that it got me reading everything in sight about Egypt and going back and back and back. It seems like I have been looking for things that I knew in other lives. And there were places that, I kept thinking I was getting warm, I was getting cold. It's got to be around here somewhere. And there were places I looked for literally 10 years. And there's other places that I'm still, I think we found something now, but it's actually been 25 years that I've been looking for this one place. So it's kind of like hide and seek. You're getting warm, you're getting cold. It's got to be around here somewhere. And there's something that gets triggered in me that feels like it is based in other lives, and I just don't seem to be able to rest until I find what I'm looking for over there.
What is the attraction with Egypt? For me, I mean, I can't. It's like I don't know what it's like to be a heroin addict, but Giza is my fix. I can't seem to shake it, and I'm not the only one. What is it about Egypt?
Well, I think that there's very real energy in the temples and in the pyramids, and if you look at them scientifically, they actually replicate the way the human body functions. And in the temples, they're actually replicating the cavities in the human body. And so there's something at the unconscious level that resonates with the reality of who we are. And, if we're open to that, if we've had past lives in Egypt, I think that it can really fuel us in a certain way. So the pyramids and the temples are very much alive, and pyramids that weren't built according to the specifications, like more modern pyramids, for example, nothing happens. They don't resonate.
Every time I go to New York, when I go to Manhattan, and I get out of a cab, and you're fresh off the plane at JFK, and you ride a cab into Manhattan, and you're with somebody, you get out of the cab, I will do this every single time. I'll put my feet on the street, and I'll go, you feel that? You feel that magic, and you know what I mean? It just goes up through your feet. Is that what happens when you step into the sands in Giza and all through the deserts in Egypt?
Well, for me, it happens, first breath of air off the plane, just being there. I mean, there's something very magical for me about it. But also, I mean, I'm going to say it, I think it's vibrational. And all of this, media that says that it's scary over there, I was just there about 3 weeks ago. And, to me, it's no different there now than it was in 77 or anything in between. There is a magic to the land, and it's interesting that the media has put so much effort into making people afraid of it.
What you and I were talking earlier today, and I want to reflect back on that conversation a little bit, if you don't mind, which is, it was a private conversation, but in that the ancients, this is my belief, but the ancients weren't distracted by the things that we're distracted with in modern life, the last 1,000 years, the last 500 years, or certainly the last 100 years. And they had the opportunity to focus on the self, to focus on what makes a human being good and or bad, and that they were able to, they weren't distracted. And that seems to have gotten away from us somewhere, somehow. And do you agree with that? And what was it, the lack of distractions, or were they just enlightened in another way?
Well, it's a whole different sociocultural context that existed there, and it wasn't just, high-level initiates. There were still farmers and ordinary people. But they seem to have ideologies that helped people live well. And one of them was the ceremony of the weighing of the hearts. And so the legend was that when you died, your heart was weighed against Mot's feather of truth, and she stands for truth and justice. And if your heart was heavy because you had been immoral or hurt someone, then it would be too heavy the feather of truth would be lighter than it. And they said, we don't want you on the other side. We only want pure people over here. And so it taught the populace how to live well, that you shouldn't do anything that made you heavy of heart. And I think that that's just really lovely, but they also meant it, so there was something to it. So, they were really interested in being in communion with nature and in listening with their heart. They thought the heart was the seat of intelligence and consciousness, not the brain. And so they had a different take on how to look at things. But certainly consciousness was the highest value instead of profit, for example. And so for them, everything was connected. Everything was, where they paid attention to the stars. They were really interested in cosmology. They understood our place in the solar system, our place in the galaxy, our place in the universe, and all of that really mattered. And so they were very, very sophisticated, and I think living in love and harmony is more sophisticated than, blood from death and profit.
And everything, like you said, everything was connected. And certainly the stars, we understand that, but it came down to food or the way you walk through a doorway, for instance. Everything was connected to being the best person that you can be and the concern with the afterlife. And I wanted to ask you about this. Was the afterlife there for everybody, like you said, farmers, all through the pharaohs? Was the afterlife a concern for every citizen?
Well, that's one way of saying it, but they didn't have a word for death. And so I think that the high-level initiates who lived in the temples and were trained had more of a focus on practicing going to the other side through out-of-body experiences and that sort of thing, so that they would be well-versed. So when they dropped their bodies, they would know what to do. And so we don't even talk like that. Reincarnation was outlawed, and if you talked about it, they murdered you, they killed you. So, so they had a whole different take on things. But yes, I think that the idea of living well so that you can pass into other dimensional spheres was common knowledge. It was ordinary to them.
Yeah, and you say it so well. There was no word for death, and life was a constant, wasn't it? And I guess what I'm asking, was everybody conscious of that, no matter who you were?
Well, I'm sure that there was lower levels of consciousness and people who weren't trained, like I say, farmers in the villages. The way I think of who became a high-level initiate is sort of the way in China and Russia they would go into nursery schools and pick who they thought would be the best gymnast and who could they train as a ballerina and who can they train as a pianist. And I think that there also was an impetus to see who had the propensity to become a high-level initiate. And I think that they started being trained when they were young, and it wasn't expected that everyone would do that, but it was expected that the ones who had the most natural propensity for it would be chosen and would move through very extensive training programs.
Do you think, and this is kind of a lead-in question for the rest of the evening, with the change in government over in Egypt and new directors in place and so forth, and we'll get to all that in a second, do you think the different cultural ministries over in Egypt are going to start to open up to new ways of thinking and break away from Orthodox Egyptology?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question, and I'm not sure, if I personally have the answer. I have met people who are part of the new regime, and there has been a change of guard. There really is a feeling of, self-pride amongst the Egyptians. I stayed this time like a block away from Tahrir Square, and it was amazing what the energy was like there. They cleaned it all up. They've put up this beautiful flagpole. It just feels like something major happened, though. People aren't better off financially, and it seems like utility bills have gone up by 800%, like the electricity bill. I was talking to a few people, but it used to be $2 a month, and now it's $16. Well, we're paying in the hundreds here. So, and the value of the Egyptian pound, it takes a lot more Egyptian pounds than it used to get an American dollar. So now I think it's up to 7.5, and for years it was 3.4. So the issue that started the revolution was the falling value of the Egyptian pound and the rising price of commodities like tea, sugar, cooking oil, that sort of thing. And so, people are happy that they stood up. It's hard to say how things will change, and is it really, to what extent is this regime change going to, be different? It seemed to me that they were headed in that direction, but it seems to me also that, there's more of the same going on in most places in the world. So I'm not sure how to answer that.
How were you able to sit down in this last trip for you with officials and discuss the future of archaeology and what's going on there?
Well, yes, to our best ability. I did meet and have dinner with the new Zahi, if you will, the one who's replacing him at the Giza Plateau as chief inspector. And I think he is quite optimistic about what can be done. He's involved in his own research, and he seemed quite enthusiastic about what's happening next. And he's very, very friendly and very approachable. So I was quite pleased to meet him. And it's not the same thing in terms of, Zahi had an ironclad way of saying yes, 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 no to whoever wanted to do research. And as far as I can see, there hasn't been a lot of serious new discoveries in a long, long time in Egypt. There's been archaeological, excavations and people exploring new temples at Karnak and various places. And if you go on the Supreme Council of Antiquities website, you'll see there's a number of ongoing projects. But there's an awful lot of things that, could be excavated and have not been. Around the world, there's lots of places that can be, unearthing temples in Peru and various other places. And it just seems that across the board, it's very, very slow. And there's lots there that could really impress us.
Oh, yes, there is. And we'll be getting to that in just a second. I'm just about ready. I just want to get a little bit more of a setup. Dr. Rada, the new Zahi, if you will, did he work under Zahi? Is there a chance of contamination, if you will?
Yes, and the word on the street is that Zahi has lots of kids. And, even though he's not in charge anymore, he's trained a lot of people that are still sitting in positions on the, on various boards and whatnot. And so, yep, Dr. Rada worked with him for sure.
How's his education? Do you know about his background?
He apparently did his PhD research on mud brick pyramids. And they would be, in my estimation, more recent pyramids because it seems that the construction deteriorated over the millennia. And so the strong, straight-sided pyramids that have withstood millennia of time seem to hold up quite a bit better than the mud brick pyramids that are susceptible to rain and whatnot. And literally, that's what they were building their houses out of, is mud bricks. But they did build, a number of quite large mud brick pyramids. But literally, they make a brick out of mud and let it dry and stack it up, and that's what they're making the pyramids out of. So, it could be that there's a stronger structure underneath, as there often are. But that is Dr. Rada's area of specialization. There you go.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come right back after this, and then we'll continue with what I plan on one extraordinary evening. So stay right there. Tonight, Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us from the Great White North. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Back right after this.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, the Tuesday edition tonight. Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us. We have some very important breaking news on a discovery in Egypt. And we're gonna go feet first in right now. Doctor, are you still with us?
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's do this. Let's start from the beginning. Take us back to 2008 and take us back to Hawara. 2008, what happened then, and then we will, in a linear fashion, move forward.
Okay, so there are two teams that were doing some work at Hawara. One was a Polish team and one was a Belgian team working in coordination with people from Egypt. And they did a battery of tests from the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, NARAG. And there are some experts there that had ground-penetrating radar equipment, and there were 7 different tests. But what they did was the team went there and they laid wire on the sand, and basically it's low grade energy put through, and they were measuring for anomalies, and so there was resistivity tests done, but it was all done on the ground with equipment that was putting a small amount of electricity in. And so the battery of tests found that it was only between 5, 8, and 12 meters deep. And there seemed to be anomalies underneath that could have been granite and various stones, some cavities, something that looked like they could have been pillars. And then the research was done in a book way, and it was found that Herodotus in 450, something like that, BC, had talked about this place, and they claimed that there were 2 levels, and there were 1,500 rooms on each level. And Herodotus said that he didn't go into the lower level, but he went into the upper level. And then there's Pliny and Strombo and various, quite ancient writers, but they were 500 years apart. So there's no way that these people were talking to each other. And it seemed that people kept going back to this site. And so, it was famous for some reason, and then the Ptolemaic layer came in the time of Antony and Cleopatra, and then the Romans came. And so in archaeology, older is deeper. And so the top layer would have been Roman, and then the second layer would have been Ptolemaic. And Flinders Petrie, in 1881, went there, and he dug and excavated and found a lot of pretty interesting things. And if you look online at the Petrie Museum, you'll see some artifacts that are all well documented and posted on that site. And so in the Roman times, they had wooden sarcophagi. They would bury their dead in them, but they painted on them, and they would paint the portrait of the person. And so this is known to be the oldest realistic portraits of humans ever, so I'm told. And so they found, mummies of crocodiles. There's a place called Crocodipolis, and various things in the area. And so I think Petrie did a pretty good job, but then he said, well, no one wants to dig there anymore because there's water underneath. And so there's actually a canal that goes over the top of the site. And that's an interesting story in itself, because it's a man named Louis de Belfond who put it there. And he was a bit of a water engineer, and he knew a lot of things, and he was a conservationist. And it was his task to build the Suez Canal. And his team was telling him, and funders, that he should use the stones from the Great Pyramid for the Suez Canal. He's like, well, no, why don't we use some, granite from over there? And they were like, nope, the pyramid doesn't, we don't need the pyramid. Let's just use those stones that are right there. So he managed to save the Great Pyramid based on the fact that he used stones from elsewhere. And then he came to this site, and he actually put this kind of S-shaped canal over the top of it. And so Petrie said, well, it's leaking, and that's a really big problem, and so let's just leave it alone. And I'm thinking now that was a pretty good camouflage, because I've got information that's showing something else there. But that's how it originally started. And so there are tons of legends about how the site was used, and I think it's interesting that group after group came back later, and ancient writer after ancient writer were talking about this place.
Where is the site in relation to the Giza Plateau?
Directly south, about 95 kilometers. 95
kilometers directly south. And I want you, when we first spoke about this, and we talked about this, I said when we first spoke about this.
Hello?
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Jimmy, I think I lost you.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I can hear you plain and clear. Interesting. I'll call you right back. Oh, always. You have to. Are you there? If not, let's take a break. This is Fade to Black, and it's going to be one of those nights, folks. I can see this coming. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm going to reset with Carmen. We'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. It's called live radio, folks. Be back right after this.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference, being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. We've got Carmen back. I'm your host. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Carmen, right before Zahi's mummy curse came in and hijacked my audio, I was asking about the size of the site. It's extraordinarily huge. How big is it?
Well, what we've done is I've done a scan through Klaus Dona, and the area in question that we're most interested in is 107 acres, which is 81 football fields.
80. I can't even wrap my mind around that. That's huge, and that's the top level. Is the bottom? Are they the same size? Are they sitting directly on top of each other?
Yes, directly on top of each other. And the whole area where this is that large, and so yeah.
And what was the approximate room count again? And then we'll move forward. I just want the audience to wrap their mind around the size of the archaeological site.
82 rooms, but the chambers are huge.
82 rooms, yeah, spread over, that's 81 acres. That would be, on average, an acre per room, right?
Well, the way I've measured it, I've taken the scan and I measured it all and then turned it into square footage. And they're various sizes on both levels. But 5 rooms are bigger than Olympic-sized swimming pools. And on one side, all of the rooms are bigger than the average size house, each room.
Now, what happened between 2008 and you and Klaus in the scan?
Well, after 2008, things ended abruptly. When Zahi found out what was going on, he had that team basically expelled from Egypt, and everything stopped. And so they didn't do anything in between. And so...
why would Zahi stop?
Well, I mean, these are questions, and they're sensitive issues, but I think Zahi wanted to be a part of every single thing, and if it was a discovery, he said it was his discovery. And these people apparently had formal Supreme Council of Antiquity permits, but when Zahi found out what they were doing, when they did that scan and they realized their scans, okay, and they figured pretty conclusively that there was something down there. They did not excavate. They did 7 different ground-penetrating radar tests. One of the team members announced it to the press, and that went into Belgium, and then it got picked up by it was on the front page of all the newspapers, and then it went to Austria, and then somebody in Germany picked it up from Reuters.
Reuters.
Yes. Thank you. It's a very difficult word. And so they phoned the Supreme Council of Antiquities, and they said, I just want to confirm that this story is correct. And Zahi said, no. And he had somebody go, and they took them right to the airport, and they said, if you come back, it's not a good thing, it's death penalty. So he kicked them out, and he took the Egyptologist that was in charge and put him in jail. And so this isn't funny at all, really.
No, it's not. And it's amazing what the ego will, when you're the megalomaniac side of you, once, you get a little taste of power, how stupid you can get. But, and we'll come back to that issue in just a bit. But why didn't Zahi then, I know this is probably conjecture on your part, but why wouldn't he go back and check out the site for himself if he wanted it for himself?
Well, apparently he's never been there. And he just says there's nothing there, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. There's nothing under the plateau, nothing. So he's been big into denial and just saying it doesn't exist. And so he made it uninteresting.
You sound just like him when you do that, by the way. Nothing. It is closed. I closed this. Yeah, and now I want to go back. When I had first read the news about this in 2008, and I was looking at some of the artists' concepts of what these could be, and they were calling it the Labyrinth, and there was a few different interpretations out there on the web, but I definitely thought this is a major breakthrough. And my heart, I was just like, here we go. This is it. Not since Gaten Brink's door has, you know what I mean? It was like right there. And it just fizzled. And it was Zahi that came in and did the fizzling. Unbelievable. So that was 2008. And from 2008 up until when did you get involved?
In December. I got a link. I'd seen the site before. I got a link from a friend and just climbed into it from 7 at night till 2 in the morning and thought, because I had been looking for a place. Okay, it started in Giza, and I spent 5 years in and out of the holes before the big wall went up, supervised by the watchman doing it, with a sort of permission, but just kind of thinking there's something down here. But all those holes were blocked, but I still wasn't going to leave it alone. And I thought, well, maybe it isn't here. And then I got this picture. It was actually Richard Hoagland who sent it to me. And it had no information on it necessarily, but it was a picture of this large trapezoid site with a circle and an X on the top, but it looked like there was some pyramidal shape. And so I didn't have any of the GPS or anything on it. I just knew it was in the western desert, which is the size of Texas. And so I just started doing a little bit of needle in a haystack. I looked up the satellite scan, and I saw that there was a company name and a date. So I Googled the company and phoned them, and I said, can you tell me where the satellite was on this day? And they said Egypt. I said, can you be a little more specific? And they sent me a scan of part of the country, and I found it. I found the GPS and decided to go to Egypt, got permits. We had to get, desert camping. We had to go in with a hot air balloon. There was it was a military zone with unexploded landmines and considered hugely dangerous. And I went in there. I brought a Russian scientist with me, Dr. Konstantin Kortkov, a full film crew, everything we needed to be out in the desert for a couple of days, and a hot air balloon for good measure because we had to go in there by balloon. So we flew in and found the spot, and there was actually 2 sites. And people were speculating that the configuration looked like the Tree of Life, and that it could have had ties to Atlantis and all this stuff. And it made sense to me on some level. Big, thick walls, deep underground, and A couple of my friends who channel, were picking up on it. And so we found it. We went walking around. We did the measurement of the energy fields and stuff on the place. And it was obvious that it was a fairly modern site. And after about 30 years, it was falling apart. After 30 years, can you believe it, when you think of how old the pyramids are?
Right.
So it was a definite no. And so I thought, okay, well, it's not here. And this all came up about 3 years later. Yeah, 3 years later. And so anyway, so I got all interested in the place. And again, nobody had the GPS because they had driven to the site. So they could have given you driving directions. But so, I was looking around on Google Earth. Here I was again, needle in a haystack. And it took me 2 days, and I found it. And so I had met Klaus Dona at the Hidden Mysteries Conference when we were both speaking at the Bosnian Pyramids. And so, he'd call me up every once in a while, and I was like, okay, I got the GPS of this place. I think I found something here. And so he asked me to send him the Google Earth coordinates. And 2 days later, he's like, Merry Christmas to us. And so, so this scan that he's working with is a live feed satellite. He doesn't do the work, but he's connected to a company that does. And they use quantum physics and a logarithm and software that allows them to look up to 6 kilometers into the earth, but they can see through layers, and they can distinguish between pottery, bone, precious metals, precious jewels, water. They can detect oil and gas as well, but that wasn't the mission here, and water and cavities. And they can look.
Let me stop you right there. I want you to take me back to when you were in the hot air balloon. You could see the scan. You had the scan from the company from the satellite. And now
no. Hot air balloon was me, myself, and I with my crew.
No, yes, I understand.
No scan. In GPS, we could see, on Google Earth. All it was I had seen it on Google Earth, and we had a GPS device, and we were X marks the spot, and we were flying over to it and landing. That had nothing to, we didn't have a scan.
No, I understand. I understand.
Oh, okay.
No, that wasn't the question. The question was, you had seen the scan with your eyes, and now you're up in the balloon looking from the balloon. What did you see from the balloon? That was my question. Could you tell that there was something underneath the layers? Was there any evidence from the balloon?
No, but the thing is that the shape was quite distinctive, and it turned out to be a target for the Air Force. So new pilots who would see this big circle inside a trapezoid with almost like an X marks the spot, and they were to fly by and drop bombs on this pyramid that they had constructed.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh.
And when we measured the energy field around the place, it was still disturbed, like Mother Earth having been bombed over and over again, and
Sure.
the field still hadn't settled.
Sure. Okay, so that was my question. Did you have an aha moment from the balloon? Like, it is.
Oh, yes, for sure. And the other thing is that the camera we were using has 22 times optical zoom, and so the videographer looking through the lens could see the pyramid from the distance. But it wasn't a very big pyramid. Once it was probably, 14 feet high or something. We're not talking like Great Pyramid.
Right.
And so it was constructed, as I say, badly, but big walls, like 15-foot wide walls, and what was around was unexploded bombs and exploded bombs and junk from them bombing the thing.
Okay, so now let's fast forward back to Klaus Dona and the scan that he helped get, which, like you said, will detect differences between pottery, wood, and precious metals and other things going. Did you say 6 kilometers deep?
Yes.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. I don't even. I don't even know what that is in feet, but that's certainly a long ways. Okay, now. What did you guys discover and discern from that?
Well, that there were several distinct layers underneath, and it was just this massive, massive, massive structure. So imagine, the Los Angeles airport buried 130 feet down in the ground.
And we're sitting in May, so all of this happened back in December. This is. We're talking about 5 to 6 months now since since Klaus was brought in?
Well, yeah, okay. So the point is that Klaus started working with this very, very, very accurate technology, and he's had a lot of success in other places, from sacred sites down to looking for diamonds in Brunei and gold in Bolivia. And his company would get commissioned by governments to find water in Zimbabwe, and they find it at 170 meters, and then they can see the flow rate and the amount. And they've even done underground rivers in California and found them. And so he's had a lot of success going with another device that's a little smaller and more precise, and saying, dig here, and they're finding this stuff. So Dr. Sam Osmanagic from the Bosnian Pyramids used his technology to find the entrance to the tunnel system of the Bosnian Pyramids. And they went and they found it. And they've been excavating there for 9 years. And there's loads and loads of stories of things that were, lost, and like this train fell into Lake Baikal in Siberia, and they'd been looking for it for 90 years or something, and Klaus did a scan, and they went with divers, and they took pictures, and they found it. And so you can say, well, how do you know? This is still like a scan, as in the first 2008 scan, is what I refer to in terms of research methodology. It's a hypothesis. It's not saying you found it, and so perhaps it was a little bit premature for that team to say it was found, because the scan, you have to go verification and see if it's there, right? But what I'm saying is that this technology has been verified in a number of different places incredibly successfully. And so because they're using quantum physics and they're using the live satellite feed, it's now being called space archaeology. And so there's more, technology popping up. But it seems to me that this is unique, because most of this, even though it's powerful and far away and very high resolution, most other scans, when they hit something, they can't look through it. And the strength of this is that there's something underneath, you can still keep going and check. So we started looking, and I got a preliminary scan from him and went, whoa, some of these rooms look like the size of farmers' fields that are right next to it. And so I knew it was, but every time I spoke to him, he had a new version of the scan that added and added and added and added. And over 6 weeks, everywhere they looked, they found more. And so, this is mind-boggling.
And what did your heart say? I mean, when the first time as this data is starting to come through, I mean, you've been waiting for this and waiting for this. This is a life-changing event here. What was your heart telling you? Were you... was it like Christmas Eve, or was it like Christmas morning?
Well, it actually was Christmas morning when we found it. That's right.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I forgot
Merry
about
Christmas,
the Merry Christmas. I forgot about that.
Well, it's interesting because, you hope and you look, and, I've been looking on the plateau for this long, and I went to that other place, and that's a no. And so there's something inside me that knew there was something really extraordinary, but it kind of just makes your jaw drop. Like, why so big? And how did they put it there? And the axiom here is, in archaeology, older is deeper. Well, if this is that deep, and the other thing is, as in the Pyramid Code, the farther away it is from the Nile, the older it is.
Right.
Because most sites were put on, and it's 30 kilometers from the Nile.
Right.
The Sphinx is 8 miles from the Nile.
Right.
Which are, Anyway, so that's just mind-boggling, and the depth of it is just, because like the Roman wasn't that deep, a couple of feet down, and the Ptolemaic was a couple of meters down.
Do you feel like Howard Carter?
Well, we haven't done the digging yet. I did go to the site a couple of weeks ago, and it's incredible. It's just incredible. Now, it's not excavated. There's a little museum there, just an open air museum of things they found, but they found things that are younger. They found things from more recently. And so really, though, when you think about how old it could be and the level of technology that would have been necessary to put it there, I mean, this is a game changer. I mean, and then most people, they think, well, it's going to be about 5,000 years old, because that's what we think everything is. And in Peru, nothing's allowed to be older than that, even if it is.
Right.
And Well, no, but the labs.
It's so funny.
And Klaus is the one who had a lot of these experiences where Klaus is to artifacts what Michael Cremo is to skeletons. Millions of years old and finding all these out of place artifacts. And so those two gentlemen have, really opened our eyes, because mainstream archaeology says nope. If it doesn't fit with what we already think, we're burying it again. And so, in some ways, this is really threatening because, how are we going to interpret this? But most people who hear about it think, oh, well, there'll be hieroglyphic on the walls, or first, let's find somebody who knows how to read hieroglyphic. Well, A, they're assuming that the way people have interpreted hieroglyphic is correct, and B, they're assuming that it's going to be something from that period of time, and C, that there's even writing on the wall. And so we really don't know anything. And so I think it's really important not to speculate. But there's this syndrome going on right now. Everybody's pirating everything. And teachers say, it is, I know, I'm standing at the front, therefore I'm right. The news says this is what happened, this is who's guilty. TV is constantly saying, it is, and there's no question. And so a lot of, not too many people know how to do real research. And in a PhD program, they'll teach you to hedge. So from the data, it seems to indicate, that, you keep saying it could be, maybe, looks like, based on the fact that in 25, you're going to be published. And in 25 years from now, somebody may find something that blows your theory. So you don't want to be too definitive. But there's too much of that going around where people say, I'm at the front, so I'm right. It's true because I said so. And so what we do is we're not really learning how to examine things. We're just making a decision about what something is and repeating it. Right, and so I think most people have lost their capacity for creative, expansive thinking, and also because of the way patriarchy has locked us into the last 5,000-6,000 years, we don't really have a mind map, and I think that's one of the contributions that the Pyramid Code made by looking at timelines and expanding back. Well, how far do you want to go? And if this is buried and has never been seen, like it's a lot of the people who talked about it, in 75 BC and in 1600, all these, they didn't really know what they were looking at either, and they were relaying stories of other people, talking about this place. But it seems over thousands and thousands of years, humans kept returning to this site and adding to it, putting more there on the higher layers.
With this is potentially besides Howard Carter and the Valley of the Kings, this is potentially one of the greatest discoveries in our lifetime, and we're right on the right on the cliff. You know what I mean? We're poking our toe out in the dark, and we're right there. What's it going to take? What's the next step? What's going to happen next?
Well, I'm in the process right now. I'm working with the National Research Institute, and we're working on a Supreme Council of Antiquities application to excavate. And so they've charged me with finding a primary and a secondary archaeologist. It's called a foreign mission. We don't have to work with Egyptian archaeologists. Well, they'll be there, but, this mission would be spearheaded, and the responsible people would come from accredited universities. And that's part of the application process that I get help with, will this get accepted or not? Now, one of the things about Egypt is, there's a 12-page document for filling out an application. But I've done plenty of PhD things, and I was on the admissions committee for grad school at UC for 6 years, and, I understand how I've done a lot of international academic cooperation projects, so I understand the level of responsibility and the credentials that people need in order for this. And so what they're trying to do is show me how to or guide me through the process so that the permit will be accepted. But point one on page 1 of the 12 pages is no new excavation permits to excavate in Upper Egypt will be granted. And then Upper Egypt, it says in brackets, Giza to Abu Simbel. And apparently there is an exemption for this site. And so the site is known, and they really want to develop the area. Now, it seems that this sort of thing and the cultural heritage and preservation of the site could make it into an attraction that people want to come to, but also we're planning all the virtual reality, that we do 3D mapping, and that we can make, apps and, virtual spaces so people can go and look around at what it could have looked like, and then people can see it without necessarily going there. And so, but this is because it's so deep, it's really challenging. So when I was doing my archaeology work at the University of Calgary, I was supervised by a man named Dr. William Klansman, and he was in charge of the Queen of Sheba dig in Sabah, Yemen. And this was all sand. And so they had 2 months of field work a year, and they would go in with those sand removing suction equipment, and similar to what they used to make the islands in Dubai.
Yeah, vacuum cleaners. Vacuum cleaners.
Yep, and they would put that piece of equipment on a barge, and they would put the nozzle all the way down under the water, and they'd suck the sand in from under the water, and then they'd take it and they'd deposit the sand somewhere else. And they built astonishingly. I mean, that's the engineering feat of the century too. And so that's what they were using, this sort of equipment. So they'd vacuum it out, and then they'd go in with their little paint brushes, and then they'd photograph that, and that was one season, and they'd leave and come back, and the temple was full again. And that was true. Like, the Sphinx has been covered up to its neck several times. And then they'd get the sand out. And in the Pyramid Code, you see big sand dunes that are right over the road, so somebody comes along and they clear it, and then people drive down the road again.
Right.
And so that's the sort of thing. But the idea of, getting a bulldozer, and then, it's been suggested like that, and then, 100 local people with those buckets you see in the documentaries, and one hands it to the next, and then they dump it. That would take like 25 years, and who knows what would happen, politically in that time. So, I mean, this is something that really hasn't been seen before. And that doesn't mean...
it's extraordinary. I'm so excited. I'm beside myself. I can't imagine what you're going through. And the assistant, I was going to ask you earlier, and it's a privilege for me to have you on the show to discuss this for the first time too. And I'm going to thank you. Thank you for this. It's so cool. Do you have to have like an attorney and somebody else to assist you in the drafting of this? Does every letter have to be perfect? Every word have to be perfect on the application process? Because if you get rejected, do you have to start back over again? Or are they going to be able to grandfather you through and get this application process happening?
Okay, well, I haven't worked on one in Egypt of this level. So in the ones I did 3 for the Ministry of Education in the Republic of China, which is Taiwan. And they were international academic cooperation projects, and this would be called a foreign mission. And so it's somewhat like applying for a PhD. There's the form where you put your name and what degrees you have and where you got them, and then you have to hand in your transcripts, and then you have to do your research proposal. And so it's a formal application. So you don't just phone up or write a letter to the secretary of the department and say, hey, I'd like to do a PhD, can I? Huh?
Right,
That's not it. And you also, if you don't have a bachelor and a master's with really high marks, you can't apply. And so a lot of people don't understand this process. But what it is a responsibility. And so you've got to get people, there's rules for the report and how long you have to do it and all that stuff, and you're supervised by the Supreme Council of Antiquities. So there's many people who have gotten permits, but not to excavate. Like, that's the thing. If you're if you're going and looking and doing tests and, kind of surveying the site, that's not the same thing as archaeological excavation, because archaeology is a destructive science.
That's right.
And that's why you have to be photographing and taking pictures and making sure, because somebody could come along with good ideas, like at the Bosnian pyramids. They've got a lab, and what they find, they put in the lab, but they're labeling it in such a way that in 100 years from now, if somebody has an idea, they can get a pretty good idea of where it was found, when it was found, other artifacts that are like it. And this is the archaeological record. And so that is the job of being an archaeologist. But you can't do archaeology without destroying the site. And so people are concerned about the Ptolemaic, but that's been done. And so there also can be filters, that the sand gets filtered, and if anything else is there, you can catch it. But also we can drill boreholes, given the permission, it's part of the plan, into the chambers, and then, see what's in there and look around. And so there's stages to it. And so they have to be incredibly careful. Now, there's precious few people. Like I've been interviewing archaeologists, and I've got this huge document. And I started by saying, okay, where is there an Egyptology program at a university? Who's done what at the Supreme Council? Because they don't let one archaeologist do 2 digs, and there needs to be breathing space in between. Who's done field work? Like a lot of people do research. And the other thing is who's got a vast array of different kinds of things that they've done. For example, Bill Glansman, he did trade routes for frankincense and myrrh in the Arabian Peninsula over 3,000 years. So he's not going and saying, oh, look, I found a pot.
Right.
And the other thing, he's doing pottery, technology, disbursement patterns in the whole Arabian Peninsula over 3,000 years, right? And so if someone like him were to go to the site and look, he may be able to say unequivocally, we've never seen anything like this.
Right.
We've never seen anything like this. And that's a good thing to start with that.
Yeah, no, he would do that out of the gate, too. He could probably do that from across the room. You know what I mean? And if you know what I'm saying, holding up anything, he could identify it right away. He's been chasing breadcrumbs forever.
That's right. But a lot of people just do one thing, and it's not the patterns. And so that's part of choosing the archaeologist.
Sure.
But the other thing is, have you got experience in the Middle East and, in the heat and Ramadan, the religious holidays, and, and how to deal with sand and. Yeah. There's a lot of issues. So it's not just I went on a dig somewhere in France. It's not the same thing. And, so there's going to be the credentials of the person. They have to be able to think on their feet. And so even though I've got experience in archaeology, that's not what I graduated my PhD in. And so I qualify to write the application and to evaluate the people who are archaeologists, right? So there's certain people who would love to apply, but they don't qualify for the application. Right. I mean, this is very specific, complicated stuff. But a lot of people, they think they got a role in the Indiana Jones movie, and they get to wear the hat. And
well, that's you know what? We got to talk about pith helmets, because I'm going to come out there with you. I can picture it now. You're going to have your little tent. You're going to have your archaeologist tent, with the really cool table with the maps on it on the inside. You're going to have the other tent that you're sleeping in for the next 25 years. And you and I are going to have our pith helmets. I get one of those helmets if I come out there. I can picture you yours. I want mine, and then we'll do a live show from the site. Are you prepared?
Okay.
Is that the next stage, though? Are you prepared for 25 years of digging? I mean, will be the rest
because
of your life.
Thing's not that stable. And that's like when they say that it took 100 years to build the pyramids. I mean, who's going to organize that? And how much stamina do you have to keep organizing the teams without the thing breaking apart? No, okay, this is, let's call it mission impossible. Like, they don't grant permits that easily, A. I know they really want to find out what's down there, but this scan is telling us how deep it is. In the 2008 scans, it was 5 to 12 meters. That's a whole different story. Right? That's relative. And if they had done that excavation, they wouldn't have found what we're talking about here.
Right.
Because it's so much deeper. And so...
how deep are we? Let's talk about that for a second, because we kind of let that get away from us in the beginning. How much actual earth is above the top level? What are we talking about there?
120 feet times 81 football fields wide.
120 feet, so 30 meters of sand and dirt are on top of the ceiling of the top level. And
I'm giving you approximate figures because that's just me, metaphorically speaking. But deep,
that's
super deep.
Yeah, that's
deep.
That's a lot of,
and that's a lot of sand. But the thing is that they built islands that were moving huge amounts of sand. So it's my suggestion that we do it that way. And the guy from the National Research Institute agrees, because you're not going to drive a bulldozer over it. It could collapse right there.
Right.
Well, anyway, these are the things. I don't want that responsibility, and I won't have that responsibility.
Why not?
But somebody...
You've got
because
to.
No. It's just the archaeological part, the engineering, the dig more, stop. That responsibility goes to someone who's their whole career has gone into the field work. But somebody's got to coordinate all the rest of it. And
don't you want to be, Carmen, don't you want to be that person sitting at the tent drinking some tea, and then you've got somebody running through the sand, Carmen, doctor, come here. Right?
No, I will be. I will be there. I mean, the plan is that somebody's got to coordinate it all, and so I would be there. And, we need IT specialists and GoPros, and I want to be able to do a live stream of the thing, and, all the pretty pictures that come with the sand. If we get to do it. Now, the thing is, I've always had one foot on the shore. Like, the Egyptian government hasn't been granting permits left and right for a lot of these things. It's not that easy to get them. Like I said, 12 pages of rules. So this is perhaps a little premature. But the other team said we found it when they had their scan that may or may not have, been correct even. We don't know that. But what I'm saying is because of the increase in the potency of the technology, think about what's happened in technology in terms of higher and higher megapixel cameras. So those scans, I've been saying, are they look like blobs to me, and it's like a 1 megapixel camera. It's the best technology they had at the time.
Right.
Right? But now, 8 years later, it's like a 1,000 megapixel camera.
It must be extraordinary.
Yeah.
Okay, now, let's. Okay, these are direct questions, and you can take as long as you want to answer. Are the top and the bottom levels connected? Elevators, stairs, tunnels, are they connected in any way?
No.
Definitive.
Nada.
You're feeling pretty cocky about that. You're saying no.
No. Well, the thing is that we've done a 3D scan and an animation of it,
right?
And you can look under the level. It's not snakes and ladders.
Right.
There's nothing, and so that speaks to me that it's a completely different construction. And if you look at the two, it doesn't look the same. I'm thinking it's a different group that built them both at vastly different times.
Yeah, 1,000 years apart or something. Holy site onto holy site, right? Sacred site on sacred site for a reason.
Well, I would add 2 zeros to the 1,000 years.
That's my Carmen coming in strong. Really?
Well, we don't know. No, we don't know. And the thing is that how do you put? I mean, this is an issue. Like working with my team, a couple of times we went, well, what if what's down there is really strange?
Right.
And it likely will be. So you can just see how people think when they say, oh yeah, that's just like a tomb, like KV-55, Ramses' tomb, and it goes down, 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 and all the rooms are connected. Well, if you look at the scan, they actually don't look connected. Well, why would you have a whole bunch of rooms that aren't connected? This is pretty uncomfortable in a way because you can't just line it up and say, oh, yeah, I've seen one of those before.
Right.
You can't.
Right. And are you basing, when you add a couple of zeros to that, are you basing that on the depth of the floor of the bottom level where land would have been at that time? Are you suggesting that possibly... And I'm asking you, but are you suggesting that this was originally above ground at one point? Oh, so do you think all of this was subterranean?
Yeah, I don't think it was, and I also don't think it was a dwelling. It wasn't a city like Göbekli Tepe. They're saying that they're temple ritual sites. They're on top of a mountain. There's 22 temples there. They've excavated 1.5 or something. And so there's a lot left to do.
Right.
But they're not saying, this was a bedroom. This was a cooking fire. Here's the pot they cooked in. It's not that.
Right.
And so, I'm not going to try to be definitive here but I mean, the thing is if there's no place to put it in the archaeological cultural record that we've seen yet, I mean, what can we do is go back. So, even with dating techniques, anything that's older than 30,000 years, and this is what they're running into at the Bosnian pyramids, they're finding material that's datable, that's organic, and they're up to 38,000 years. I saw the certificate for the organic material with carbon-14 making everything look younger. They've got certificates that say 38,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, nobody's talking like that. But, like Dr. Sam, who's let a lot of different people who've got different techniques and equipment to measure things, he's allowed them all to come and do their research with great respect. and they're getting geological, the ions, negative ions, the waters, things that, they're finding all kinds of things in people who are measuring, and photographing and filming orbs down there, and they're measuring the electromagnetic fields and outside the pyramid and down under the tunnels. And this is an energetic anomaly. I mean, this is a phenomena here we've got. And so there's pyramids popping up all over the place. There's a pyramid at this site. There could be one that's underneath that's straight-sided and not the mud brick. We need to excavate. But the thing is excavating could raise more questions than it answers. Why would you need chambers that are as big as an Olympic-sized swimming pool?
And how tall are what's the height of the walls in the first level?
I don't know. What we've measured is the ceilings. That's what it seems, that the measuring point comes to the ceiling, and then you go through and it gets to the next ceiling. So I don't know that. But the thing is, most of these tests don't do accurate depths. So as long as we've got one measure,
sure.
Yeah, and there's some places that it's a mile and a half of narrow passageways that connect in various places, notably on one side of the canal. And they go to a chamber, and then there's another passage that goes to another chamber, and there's another passage. Now, we don't know if those doors are open. We don't know if they're for storage. It doesn't look like they're tombs. But in the other side, it's just block, 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 block. And so you say, well, let's find the entrance. Well, it's not a temple. So you're not going to find one door that leads to another door that leads to another chamber. So,
in the 3D modeling, I'm sorry, did I just cut you off? I apologize. In the 3D modeling, can you get a sense of how tall these rooms are?
No, I don't know. They're looking. No, that's not something I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at the shape,
right,
and the size of these chambers, and the fact that there doesn't appear to be doorways in between.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Well, it is, but I'm thinking it's some kind of. I mean, what does that say? Like, think about a storage area that has a whole bunch of containers. And everybody's storage is their own, and there's a container on top of another container beside another container. I think it's some kind of a repository. I mean, it's some kind of, okay, so there were legends. I mean, we can ask questions about what it could be, but what could it be linked to? Okay, so
could it be a
in
bank?
Atlantis?
What about a bank? A government repository of some kind.
Well, they didn't have governments like we have there. You see, the thing is that the danger is to look through the lenses of our own knowledge of culture. And I'm thinking that it's so wildly something different, and we'll never know till we go, but I don't think it's going to be same old, same old. So why did they need the chambers to be so big? Are they full or empty?
Right.
And some of them, there's artifacts down there. The scan is showing that on both levels. So it could be that the lower level hasn't been opened in a while. But let's just go. I mean, lots of people are talking about Atlantis. And I've done lots and lots of research and read everything I can find on Atlantis. And there's lots of stuff that's speculation. However, it seems that there were 3 catastrophes, and that Atlantis was a worldwide seafaring culture. And when people say, well, was it here or was it here? The Straits of Gibraltar or the Altiplano in South America? How about all of the above?
Right.
That it was a worldwide culture. And well, it was a round city. Where was that? It was Poseidon. It was here. It was there. It was the middle of the thing. You didn't know about the Straits of Gibraltar, blah, blah, blah. Well, how about everywhere they had a city, they were round, and the ships would come, the canals around were round. So the ship would come in and turn right and go around and stop and drop off its cargo and pick up more and keep going in a straight line and come out the other side and leave.
Right.
And everybody would come down, and the shore was round, or the port was round, and then the next city and the next city and the next city. That's how they built their cities.
That's right.
But okay, so they had councils, and they had enough time. If you think about the Pyramid Code and golden years, golden cycles, and down to Iron Ages, that takes 26,000 years to go around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's likely that the civilization known as Atlantis had time to go from a golden age to a dark age and back up to a golden age. So they would have had technology. Like, the idea of a golden age is that the energy is more refined, and then an iron age where we're at the end of the densest of dense and lack of connection and that sort of thing. So all of the stories, and Atlantis has really been like a melting pot of, put all the fantasies and the war heroes and whatever else you want, and the unicorns and everything else, and it all goes there. But, that there were various phases. But what's known is there were 3 catastrophes. So the second one, I don't know when the first one was. The second one, it seems that the literature is showing 17,500.
That's right.
And then Valery Uvarov and Svetlana Pavlova look at the calendar of catastrophes, they call it, which is the round zodiac at the ceiling of the Temple of Dendera, pinpointing the prophecy that when the heart of the lion hits the head of the crab, which is basically saying that the constellation of Leo crashes into the constellation of Cancer. Well, how does that work? How do constellations, that some kind of asteroid or something hit the Earth, knocked it off by 14 degrees. Everything had to be reset, world flood, and a few people survived, like you see in the Cave of the Swimmers from The English Patient, and that's in the Pyramid Code, where a couple of people swim and hit the high antiplano, and they start again by, okay, where's Orion, where's Sirius, plotting the stars, and they start over. So, if that happened to us right now, all our technology would go down, the grid wouldn't work, we'd go walking around outside, try to keep ourselves warm. It's not that we're stupid, it's that our stuff is gone, right?
Instantly done.
Yeah, and
done.
So what you see, there's the linear zodiac that's recently been cleaned on the ceiling of the Temple of Dendera, and I've got this full high-resolution professional film and stills, and it's basically the story of, the precession of the equinoxes and the archetypal energies that came down. And it's got a line that everything was going hunky-dory, and then disaster, and then everything for replanning. It's right there, right on the ceiling. And if you know what you're looking for, you can find it.
And that's at about 11,500 BC?
Something like that. No, specifically 13,660 years ago.
Yes.
Which is different than, and the people talk, but it is that specific. And I always looked at that round zodiac and thought, what is the matter with that thing? It looks like it's going around backwards. And I would just stare at the thing going, I don't know what I'm looking at. But it's similar to if you go down to South America and you look at the sky and you think, well, I didn't think I knew the sky, but that's not it.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what the constellations are, but there's something not like what you're used to seeing when you're at home in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
So anyway, so one of my first past life regressions that I did, I was told that I was on one of the evacuation committees when they knew Atlantis was going down, and it sounds like there was some forewarning. Okay, so let's imagine that you and me and 10 other people are on this committee. And we're like, okay, we've had 2 floods. There's another one coming. What are we going to do? What do we do with our stuff? What do we do with our technology? Where do we bring the people? What do we do? Right?
Let's build a library.
Yeah. Let's build a repository and put our stuff in it.
Yes.
Or write on the walls, biblioteca, some kind of a seed bank. I don't know. Like, is there technology down there? Is there stories down there? Now, the other thing is that Valery Uvarov talks about, and there's other people too, the third-party hypothesis. So if you've got the Mayans and the East Indians and the Egyptians and whoever knows who else, and they're all talking about their ancestors and the gods and the wisdom keepers who taught them, like Egypt sprung into action, fully bloomed, and then deteriorated from there. Right?
Yes.
So dynastic Egypt was the beginning of the patriarchal end of Egypt in 3113 BC, which corresponds to the Mayan calendar. So who's telling everybody the same story if the Mayans and the Egyptians and the East Indians didn't talk to each other? They had a common ancestor, the third-party hypothesis.
Right.
Okay? And so these sorts of things I find, and if you think about the long, long timeline, and you think of Atlantis having had an extended period of existence with a lot of stuff happening, including full global catastrophes. Well, where would that have been? And this is also a stretch, but I mean, like, people are like running around, I call them Sitchinites, where people say, oh, Sitchin said, and 450,000 years ago, the Anunnaki came, and I needed gold for, all that stuff. But he's been unverifiable. And I've always said his office is in the Rockefeller Center. And, nobody could read Sumerian texts until Mike Heisner came along and got a PhD in ancient languages, and his website's called SitchinIsWrong.com.
Right.
Okay, now I have a PhD in linguistics, and I know that if you say, the Chinese people sit in a chair, we sit on a chair, but a preposition changes the meaning of something, and so does gender things. Like in Chinese, they say he to a woman and she to a man because they don't do genders, and so they get it all mixed up, right? And verb tenses. There's lots of ways that a small turn of phrase can completely change the meaning of something.
On both sides, by the way.
Yes, on both sides.
Yes.
And so, now Sitchin's thing is they enslaved us. They created the slave species to be able to do their mining for them because they needed this gold, cracked the whip, and they were enslaved. Well, think about that, and I've given this a lot of thought. The implication is they were enslaved and we're not. Well, we may be enslaved too, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And how can we really know that Enki and Enlil, and what about Inanna? I mean, I've got a chapter in her in my book. Like they're looking at the boys that were fighting with each other, and and all this. To me, people just take Sitchin whole and repeat it. I call them Sitchinites, and so we don't know what really happened, and what could have happened 450,000 years ago. So then so I was going to talk about dating techniques. So you got thermoluminescent dating and photoluminescent dating that takes things back. But Klaus took artifacts to various labs in South America, and they came back at, 4,820, just so that it was under 5,000.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And he knew that there's absolutely no way. And so he's had to research labs that actually will be accurate. And then there's, 10 different dating techniques. I actually went to I called it the Sitchin conference. It was a scientist conference with La Violette and a bunch of them, and Sitchin, in 1996 in Portland, Oregon. And they had a round table discussion for the scientists, and the scientists had never talked to each other. And so here they were, and some were astrophysicists, and everybody had their own little, category, but disciplines don't talk to one another in academia. And so they asked me to sit in on this meeting after the workshop was finished. They had dedicated a whole day on the Monday for people to, and I was the fly on the wall. And they spent the first, half hour deciding what they were going to discuss. And lo and behold, it was dating techniques. And these guys were positively encyclopedic. But they were talking about if something doesn't fit with the time frame, they bury it, put it back, and put cement over the top, which Zahi did plenty of it on the plateau, cemented over the top of huge sections of what we've got pictures from 1910 of temples down there. And
they don't want to hear it. Yeah, they don't want to hear it.
Well, you're not going to find it. And when they did that whole thing, I mean, I can go on, but they would need jackhammers to dig down in there, which is why maybe these scans can be useful, and there's other ways to get in if that is to pass. But anyway, so these dating techniques can go back far enough. And it doesn't have to necessarily be organic material. These different, there's one technique that will measure the last time something was heated to a high degree. And that's pottery, right?
Right.
So when was the pottery fired? There you go. There's the technique you use. So different techniques get used for various purposes depending on where you are and what you're looking for. And so a lot of, academia gets stuck in what they always used to do. And so, newer technology is stronger and better. And so for people who are usually traditional, who have done something the same way, there may be new techniques that can be used, and they've got to be adopted, including dating. And so we've got to be incredibly open-minded about this. But, so if they say, you're going to the Joshua Tree, and all the Richard Dolan and all those people, Travis,
Eric Von Daniken, you sure?
And then I just saw the documentary at the Disclosure Modern Knowledge Tour a couple of weeks ago in Vancouver when Paul Hellyer was talking. So you spend a whole day listening about, the ETs, they're not disclosing, the governments have something to gain by keeping us not knowing about it, and they keep repressing the technology, the high-level technology, so the ETs are here. I think we make a mistake with them by we've all got cars and scooters and everything, skis, everything's a vehicle. And so we imagine that ETs all in their own little spaceship, but they can shapeshift and take over human bodies. And there's lots of ways that ETs can be walking around here, but we think of them in spaceships. Well, that's also, you know what I mean? There's all these different ways that things get represented and repeated, and we just buy it whole without thinking it through. But if there was a race of beings that came from another planet, I mean, how did Earth get star-seeded in the first place?
And what about, I can't help but think about some of the things that Edgar Casey was saying, too, as well, about the Hall of Records. And it almost puts butterflies in my stomach. I mean, could this be? Could we be on the brink of this kind of discovery?
Well, my inclination between you, me, and the fence post is yes. But where I was going with all that is if we teleported in from, like, densify, like they said, look, if you listen to channeled messages, and I'm not saying take all this stuff in whole, but there's a densification ratio. So, certain planets are operating at a higher level frequency with more dimensions available. And if they're going to densify to come to Earth, there would have to be a process if you're going to incarnate physically. And how did we get here? And what do we do with our stuff? That's what I think this is.
And when we come back, we're gonna be up against a break in 2 minutes. I have two comments. One, this is a very significant discovery, but I also believe, Carmen, I really do, in my very soul, that in the Great Pyramid, that there are rooms there that are yet to be discovered too, as well. It is not as complex as it is. It's not as simple as it is either. I think there is something else there. All of the ventilation shafts or what have you, whatever they're calling them, those all twist and turn. And I think that they are moving around. They're built around another chamber that is there. They are, they go up and curve and turn to the right and turn to the left because they're going around a room. That's what I think. Nobody discusses this, but it seems so obvious to me. Why would you put a turn in one of those ventilation shafts, unless we call it a ventilation shaft, whatever it is, unless there are rooms there? There's more there to be discovered, and it's just been clamped down. And
everything's been clamped down. And Zahi, said he was going to find the mummy of Cheops, and the Pyramid Code goes through all of that the pyramids aren't tombs, blah-de-da. But we don't know that. Like, there are people who said there were 30-foot columns inside and then went in and went, oh, it doesn't feel like that. Now, there are little passageways, and there's a new one in the pit, in the subterranean chamber. And I spent a lot of time down there by myself in the dark and in the light. And that chamber the passageway wasn't there before. So, yes, there's certain things. But Valery Ufarov, I keep mentioning him because he was the basis of the new, his book of my new series, and we've departed from that because the funding didn't come through. But he built a new functional pyramid where people are having spontaneous healings. Even the construction workers, before they finished, were having spontaneous healings because these pyramids are functional. And I saw the equipment that they used and the way they used it, and it was described to me. So in the dead, quote-unquote, space where there aren't passageways and chambers, passageways and chambers, there are inverted crystals and standing quartz, and we're talking 14 feet high, and I've got pictures of those, taller than a person, under pressure. So pyramid energy appears to have something to do with the double helix of the quartz crystal under pressure. So if you'd ask him, and now it's become something that I settled with, it could be that quote-unquote dead space is creating the energy. And that, there's crystals and everything, and that's also in the Pyramid Code, but in a Ethernet cable, everything's made out of crystal on some level. They're in your watch, they're everywhere. And so there's something about that happening on a huge level that, could speak to that. So we don't know that there may be, there may not be. But, can we just get into examining this stuff? Do we really have to spend our whole life wondering and nope, can't look.
Let's take a break right there. When we come back, I'm going to ask Carmen directly what they have found in those chambers. What have the scans shown them? And also, we're going to talk about Zahi Hawass, my favorite subject with Carmen. And we'll do all of that when we come back. Stay with us, Carmen. 2-minute break. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Dr. Carmen Boulter with us. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, the Tuesday edition. What a night tonight. Dr. Carmen Boulter is with us from the Great White North. What an amazing discovery she has upon herself right now. It's a lifetime achievement, Carmen, and I'm excited for you. I can't imagine what sleep must be like, or lack of it, and what your dreams are like now. And this is just amazing, amazing stuff. And thank you for sharing it with all of us tonight. And I want to ask you this: with the ability with Klaus Dona's scans to delineate different objects, substances, precious metals, take us through that. What at this point, what do you think is down there, and what have you discovered?
The scan shows 6 rooms with gold.
With gold, and okay, my heart just skipped a beat. Gold walls, gold objects.
We don't know. Well, that a borehole with a 3D mapping camera would tell us if it's objects. It suggests that these rooms haven't been opened. It could be gilded. We don't know. And that's the thing that, I hear myself hesitating and hedging, because we're saying it's a discovery. The others, when they said that they saw their scan, they said they made the discovery. The discovery is actually the excavation. What we've got is a solid hypothesis with the scan that has proven itself to be true repeatedly. But until we go down there, we don't know. Now, again, I see I've kept one foot on the shore. Just because this could be true doesn't mean we get the permits, right? So it feels a little premature, and yet there's lots of people that are clamoring around that are wanting to claim that the scan is theirs. And so I'm going public with this because I found it. I found the GPS. Klaus did this for me. And it's real and it's true, and nobody else found that. This Klaus and me found it, right? And in all due respect to everybody else who's ever done work there, I think this is really important, and that's why I'm making my statement, because there are people trying to, mush over and say it's theirs.
Sure. Well, Klaus was on with this, 2-3 weeks ago, and speaking with him on and off the air, he behaved, but he said something was coming, and he wouldn't disclose, and he behaved. Klaus behaved. I'm glad. It was just such a tremendous surprise, and for all of us. And the audience right now is just, I'm watching Twitter right now. We've had thousands of tweets tonight discussing this, and the word is out, and the world is abuzz, young lady. I meant to ask you, forget about gold. I mean, that's cool, but what about things like wood and pottery? If that's down there too as well, that's just as significant as gold.
Well, there's no pottery.
What?
That they have ascertained, none. There is bone, but most of the bone is off by itself without a chamber around it to the, far away. And there are 2 rooms, one on each level, with bone and gold. So we don't know. So it's indicating that.
Yeah, what does that say to you?
Well, again, I feel like I'm out on a limb, speculating, because you can guess. But, I think it's really important not to say, I know what it is. It's a real leap to say, you know what it is. So somebody in their treasure.
Or
that's what you would have found. If you had done a scan of King Tut's tomb, you would have found bone and gold.
Or maybe the builders of this room, to keep it secret, were buried inside.
Well, all those things are things that we've heard before, could be, maybe, we don't know. And so, it could be that it's just so absolutely, loaded with possibilities that they say, forget it, cancel clear, we don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that they're ready. But to me, this gives us some kind of, it can fuel hope, like real optimism in terms of, wait a minute, everything we've been told about humanity may not be what they told us. Right. Now, I know that pretty much all these shows that I've been speaking on all these years, are people say, like perhaps we weren't given the whole story. But how do you piece together this other story? Right? But I think we're really winning on this. I'm going to be speaking with Michael Cremo at the Modern Knowledge Tour, both in Vancouver and Victoria, and Nassim Haramein. Well, he's talking all the quantum physics stuff and all these puzzle pieces. We owe so much to people like Michael Cremo and Klaus Dona,
right,
for just opening our brains up and showing things that make us go, what? And even, you know what? A really good question is better than a bad answer.
That's right. I'll never forget. This is so long ago. I want to say he was a youngster, but everything is relative. But the first time I had heard Michael Cremo speak, my life changed that day. I really mean that. He freaked me out, Carmen. He truly freaked me out. And it was an honor to have him on the show, but he really freaked me out. And I don't understand why how should I say this? He should be somebody that everybody's speaking about first, all the time, in colleges, on lecture tours. He should be held in that regard, and he's just special. Michael Cremo is very special.
Well, think about it. I agree entirely. But look how much trouble he's had. Look how many people have ridiculed him. And I watched this YouTube thing where it went over 20 years, and it was clips of him on the air.
Yes.
And he has had the same storyline, finding more and more of forbidden archaeology the whole time. And so people who step off the collective mat, get dragged back in, and it takes a lot of courage to be moving against the grain. But yet, I mean, what did I read the other day? The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figured out why. It's like we all want to know why we're here.
With you said that you can't really discern any doors, but what about, is there any type of road, path, entrance, steps leading to? Is there a front, a back, a side, anything that you can tell at this point?
No. There are no steps. There's no entrance. There's passageways on one side between smaller chambers, and there's 18 of those. And that, again, looks like a different construction. So I'm saying there's 3 different constructions. 2 on one level on both sides of the canal and 1 lower. And they seem to me to be distinct in their construction. It does not look, maybe on that side there's a door and there's passageways and they keep going. But the other stuff, the lower level seems to be a little bit rounder, more, I suppose, where the labyrinth word came from.
Right.
And the upper level are just chunks, blocks, block, block, block.
And if it's 81 acres, if it's covering that, are we talking about, maybe I'm exaggerating, but are we talking about miles of passageways? If you
1.5 kilometers of the narrow passageways, it's 81 football fields, 107 acres, but the interior space is 9 acres.
Oh, that's incredible.
9 acres.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's incredible. And with the lower one, what I'm also guessing here, when you had said earlier, you added a couple of zeros to that. Are you suggesting that because of maybe there's deterioration in the rooms and it looks older to you? Is there a reason why you would add a couple of zeros?
Well, thanks for that question. Because what you find in Egypt is the older it is, the better shape it's in. It's the 30-year-old thing that's falling apart.
Oh,
okay, and so it's older technology. It's more advanced technology. No, it's because the site is 30 kilometers from the Nile. And it's because of the extreme depth. So archaeology started in 1910, along with psychology and Freud and Champollion and hieroglyphic, and I think they were all smoking cigars in the same parlor. And they gave us Darwin and all the ideas that get shoved down our throat at school. But the thing is that I think that there's something if it's deeper, it's older. The end.
Yeah, and I want to change gears for a little bit, a little bit of a separation. We were talking earlier today, and I want everybody, all of the audience, if you haven't seen her 5-part documentary series, all of the links are there. You can go to her website. You can certainly find it on YouTube as well. But to go back...
Netflix, please, so it's not... It's all for free on YouTube, but it's not very good quality. It's on Netflix.
Okay, Netflix.
It's Canada and the States.
Go and watch it. And one of the things that you point out over and over again, but certainly in number 3 and number 4, it's really discussed, is the beauty of the sculpture. It goes without saying, but the beauty and the level of what was there when the rest of the world was running around in animal skins, hunter-gatherers, the level of the artwork from old Egypt, from ancient Egypt, is so good and so great, and then it degraded. It went away. And where would we be today if they continued to develop the consciousness and the arts and magic, and where would we be today, and why did it go away?
Well, I put that squarely on patriarchy, because patriarchal ways of being and thinking are power over instead of empowerment. If you can't see it, it's not there. So dream time, spirit, all that doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's all about profit and me, mine, and hierarchies, so that there's people that are the slaves and people that are the winners. And I think that and the value system that goes with it, one winner, everybody else loses, it has deteriorated us to the point where you don't have to take care of nature, you don't have to take care of each other. It's all give me your money or I'm going to come and get it. And we shouldn't, so we went wrong. I mean, patriarchy, I think we're going to see the last 5,000 years once this whole thing opens up as the patriarchal hiccup, a failed experiment that has humanity on its knees.
Can't they coexist, though?
Well, matriarchy isn't the opposite of patriarchy where women control men.
I know.
It's balance. It's about honoring everything and everyone. And so I don't think, once you've got profit and corporations that, I don't know that gives cooperation and collaboration. And we're so indoctrinated in the repetition. Truth is a value that doesn't exist anymore. There's one lie after another and contradictions everywhere you look.
Right.
No, I don't think they coexist. I think maybe you can have, one society that's patriarchal and one that's matriarchal, but it's not going to, whatever. It's just like I'm so saddened to see how many people are suffering because of this ideology that doesn't work, and the Egyptians weren't doing that.
If we went completely to the other side, though, like right now we're all patriarchal. If we went to the other side, would we also maybe peak and then decline too as well? Does one need to feed the other?
Does one need to what the other?
The matriarchal. If we went purely to the feminine side, would we continue to advance, or do we need a little taste of both?
Well, the thing is it's a balance. So the patriarchy lopped off the sacred feminine. You see all men in the Congress. I mean, or women acting like men nowadays.
Right.
It's all about, you take everybody out of the Bible that's female, just the feminine energy, the feminine balance is gone, okay? And so the matriarchy is masculine empowered and feminine empowered, the masculine in women, the feminine in men.
Right.
And it's just far more balanced. And so that's what we're looking for, collaboration, cooperation, honoring the earth, leaving more for the children. It's a value system. We're in a crisis of values.
And it's also emotion-based, too. When I look at the matriarch side of things, you go down the checklist, and you're like, that's great, that's great, that's perfect, that's perfect, that's great, that's great, unbelievable, that's the way it should be. But it's almost too good. It seems like you need some bad. I don't want to sound strange.
I think we've had plenty of bad, enough to last for the next, millennia.
Is total bliss too much of a good thing?
Well, I don't think it's that in terms of people have personal achievement. There's an increase in consciousness.
Right.
I don't really even know how to answer that because, we've just been steeped in evil. So I'm not interested in figuring out how to keep a little bit of it.
And that's the right answer. And speaking of evil, let's talk about.
See, I'm psychic. You don't even have to say it.
Okay, what'd you think of the video?
Well,
actually, not what did you think. The first time that you saw the video with Graham and Zahi, were you surprised? That's the question.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. No. And the thing is, though, is that I've been our team. Okay, Zahi and Graham kind of decided they were going to go to this site together. And one of the people from the 2008 team was invited. And the idea was they were going to debate Hawara. And so my team member decided not to go because this whole thing about what about the new scan, and we talk about 2008, but now there's new stuff. And they just decided, we'd been in Egypt like a few days before, and he said, no, I'm not going. So we've been anticipating this debate for months. It was at Mena House, blah, blah, blah. And then who's going to go first? Okay, you go first, Graham said, or Zahi said to Graham, because he wanted the final word. And so he put up the first slide that has the Orion theory on it, that Graham and Robert Boval did work together. And as soon as Zahi saw the first slide, he freaked out because Boval has been very upset about the 3 people in jail for ostensibly scratching the surface of the paint of the graffiti, which they may or may not have done, but It just seems like really harsh. Whatever. Robert Bauval's very upset about that, okay? And he's constantly been posting on Facebook. And I agree with him. I don't think it's right either. But anyway, so Zahi thinks he's a criminal because of this. He's accusing him of that. So he went off like a firecracker because the first slide had something to do with Robert, I think.
I don't want to see his name.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
exactly.
right.
And so what I thought was interesting, though, is that Santa, who's just a beautiful woman, was standing
wife,
right
for the audience.
Graham's wife,
yeah.
I'm getting there, yeah. So she stood in front of Zahi, but to the left of Graham. So she was making like an L shape between them. And I just loved watching her because she didn't say a word. She was just powering energy. She was just like, and I thought, oh my God, is she working hard in her silence? Right. And the key line for me was when Graham said, in academia, we debate the issues. We don't debate the people. Okay? But the thing is that even when Chasing Mummies was on, I'd get a bazillion phone calls. I mean, pretty much everybody I knew saw that. It went viral. It happened about a month ago. And then that's Zahi. That's what he did. I sat outside his office many, many times all day because he said he'd see me. And I got there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was his last appointment at 5:30. So I would sit there in the waiting room listening to the secretaries ask what artifacts were and listening to him screaming at people and hanging up on them all day. Like, that's literally how he sounds. That's how he sounded all day.
With the other comment, well, there was a million of them, but there was another comment that I thought was very interesting from Zahi when Zahi actually said, we are here, I'm going to paraphrase, we are here to debate theory. And Graham said, exactly. And then Zahi turned around on himself in a hypocritical manner and said the theory was squashed. There's no reason to discuss theory. Now, are you there to debate theory, one theory against another, or not? And Zahi suggested one thing and then backpedaled and said that he squashed the theory. He squashed it, I think he said in Chicago, which I thought that was strange. And
that's the Oriental Institute and Mark Lehner, who was working for the ARE, the Edgar Cayce Foundation, and he was aligned with Robert and Graham. And Zahi said, if you stop talking with them, I will make you the second most famous archaeologist in Egypt. And that's where he got the so-called pyramid builders dig. And he did a good job of not raising any issues again.
And
so I've been watching this for a long time. And the thing is that I've seen him be like that all these years. But this was a big revelation somehow because of the way it hit YouTube and went viral. And it's amazing to me. And all of a sudden people are like, what's the matter with him? It's like, well, it didn't start yesterday.
I think for most people, that was the first time that they've seen him lose his cool. And these days, you need to be aware. Somebody's got a cell phone camera. You know, you need to keep yourself in check. I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that we saw that side of Zahi. And so we can all just kind of back up and go, okay, well, there's his true colors, and now we know how he is and that he's closed-minded, and he thinks that everything ends and starts with him, which is clearly not the case.
Well, and there's psychological terms for that. But let's take our hats off to Graham and Santa. We talk about dignified and calm and accepting. But the thing is, so much went into anticipating this.
Mm-hmm. 1 year of sickness.
And then it was just over, and it's just over.
Right.
Right? So I just think Graham and Santa, they can have halos as far as I'm concerned.
And there was one other thing, and I need your comments on this. And plus, you're a doctor of the mind, too, as well. So tell me where Zahi is coming from when he says, I don't know if it's in the first video or the second, when he says he's never heard of Göbekli Tepe. Now, is he lying? And if he's lying, why would he lie?
Well, let's say that someone mentioned it and he dismissed it because it didn't fit with his idea. He went to the Bosnian pyramids and told said, don't ever believe anything in it. And so, the media is never going to accept it. And the rest of it, in terms of alternative media, is the most productive archaeological dig on the planet. And so basically he is closed-minded, and perhaps, he can be charming and he can, be quite jovial. But if you cross him or you're trying to do something, he stops you and wants to say no. And so, he just dismisses. Nothing at Hawara, nothing underneath the plateau. No. I call him Dr. No. and Sam is Dr. Yes. If you go to Sam and you say, I have this idea of something, yes.
And is it possible, is his world so closed, is it possible that he honestly has never heard of Göbekli Tepe? And with his job, I find that hard to believe. But is his world that closed?
No, but yes, because he's into repeating his own point of view, which is why I say I've got one foot on the shore about the dig. Now, he's not in charge anymore. And, he's got his kids, as they say, who are in high places. And we're coming out of an era in Egypt that was incredibly repressive, which is such a shame because a lot of goodwill has gone toward it, and not a lot of people who are willing to, do something, and they have not been able to. Like, I've seen so many people who present their information to him, and he leads them along, and then he says it's his discovery 2 years later after he shuts them down. I've seen it over and over. Yes, he is that closed-minded, and he's that into being the power over. And that he is epitomizing patriarchy, a patriarchal man. That it's all what I think and never mind anybody else. And that is the attitude and the value system that has, or the lack of values, if you will, that has broken down our whole society.
When was the last time we spoke to him?
2000 and, I don't know, 9?
2009. Do you think it's possible for him to wiggle his way back into the establishment?
Well, he's wiggling through his kids. They call him his sons. So they all report to him, as I understand it. So he's trained people, and then he listens. And he doesn't like being left out. Like, he wanted to be Minister of Culture, and he ruled with the iron fist for such a long time. And he was out of Egypt for a long time in the States. And now he's back. And I've got to tell you, when we were on our trip for the field work, honest to God, his name came up every hour.
And you say that in a strange way.
Well, it's like he's gone. Can he be gone? Right. He's gone, but he's not. He's not gone.
Let's take our last break. When we come back, can you hang out for a few minutes and maybe take a few phone calls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Let's do that. Let's take our last break. This is Fade to Black. When we come back, I'm going to open up the phone lines for all of you Fadernauts. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. One of the greatest discoveries in our lifetime is right in front of us, and I'll give you an opportunity to speak with Dr. Carmen Boulter when we come back. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and this is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be back right after this.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy, Göbekli Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. What an amazing evening tonight on Fade to Black. It's all about getting smarter. I feel better already. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Carmen Boulter is with us, Dr. Carmen Boulter. And let's go. I have a question from one of our producers here, and it's about, let me jump to the end of it. What about your studies done by her and others about people's increased psychic powers after spending time in a pyramid?
Aha. I've done 2 studies, one on my 10-10-10 group and one on my 12-12-12 group, using electrophotonic imaging. That's Dr. Konstantin Korkov's invention, and he's the one that brought the equipment on the hot air balloon trip. And I measured people outside before after they went into the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid for 2 minutes, measured them when they came out of the pyramid, and then measured them after. And the second time I replicated the exact same study, I had hundreds and hundreds of readings, and I added a delayed post-test. What I was coming along with was the idea that it seemed to me that the more time I spent in the Great Pyramid and inside the body of the Sphinx, the more psychic I became. So I thought, well, I wonder if I can measure this. So it was a full-blown quantitative research study with high numbers of people. And the main thing, so I was able to compare between groups and among groups. And so and what was obvious, looking at how the correlations and the way the chakras entrained, was that overall, in 2012, so to me, the chakras in training, it speaks to synesthesia, which is hearing a picture and seeing music. That it's cross-sensory perception. And so in the Pyramid Code, you see the goddess standing inside the sphere, and so all those cross points would be enhanced senses. And Hakim talked about 360 senses, which is full spherical perception all the way around. And over time, it seems generally with strong statistical significance that we're becoming more psychic.
And for you, what was the realization? Were you able to? What was the discovery for you when you went, aha, something is going on?
Well, first of all, though, like when I was working with the Russian team, of course, I had to have a translator every time I had a training session, but they were astonished when I was describing my study, and they said, I could just see her going, "Arr!" And the translation went, you can't expect people to know how to handle the energy in the pyramid. And I'm like, okay, never thought of that. It's like, because I'm so familiar with the energy fields, and that's why I seek it out, and that's why I'm comfortable there. It's because it's part of my heritage at the cellular level. I must say I kind of did expect that people would, I kind of anticipated that if people came to Egypt with me, they had known me in another incarnation, so they were high-level initiates, and they were coming back to say hi to the pyramids kind of thing.
Sure.
So I did expect that they would have known how to handle it. And I may have been a little naive about that. And that's what happens in all the research studies I've ever done. I come up with my best hypothesis, and then I realize at the end it's far more complex, and our best guess at the beginning of a study is a little naive because things are more complex than we'd ever guess.
You had mentioned past lives. Was there anything that tied you directly back to Egypt, and that's why you were drawn there?
Absolutely. I started having past life memories when I was 6 years old.
And what were they?
I remember I looked over at my family, and my cousin was wearing the headdress and those round necklaces that went around, and everyone over there was dressed in Egyptian robes. I'm like, what? Really? What's that? I didn't even know it was Egypt. I had the vision, and it took me a while before I found costumes or whatever that spoke to Egypt. So, I would say, if you want to sum up who I am in a sentence, I've just been chasing my past lives around. It's pretty much what I'm doing, including this site.
Was it always Egypt?
Well, by the time I was 32, I had evidence of 85 past lives of my own, and I stopped counting.
Did you write them down?
Oh, yeah.
And
boxes of journals, sure.
And what were the connections? That's an obvious question, but was there a pattern?
Well, that's a good question. You ask good questions. My incarnational patterns was I do a monastic life and then a life in the marketplace. A monastic life, a life in the marketplace. So that means I would go from being a Zen Buddhist monk to having a woman with long, heavy hair with a rich guy in a garden in England. And then I would be Mother Superior, and then, something else that was ordinary. And so I spent half of my incarnations meditating.
Always female?
Yep, pretty much, yep. I had one as a little boy, and I died when I was 6 because a lion or a bear or somebody with big claws scratched me across the chest, and I died. I was a geisha dancer, and so I would have been in a male body, but I was acting like a woman. And so, yes, it's not usual that would happen, but pretty much I've always been female.
And was it always Far East, Middle Eastern, or was there ever anything over on this continent, northern? Well, you mentioned England, but
no, yeah. No, I've been around. I've been around Peru, Bolivia, North American Indian, lots of stuff.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight, and I want you to leave. What you're going to speak with? You mentioned Nassim and Michael Cremo. What else do you have going on?
I'm on this trip to Java and in Indonesia, Borobudur. There's a bunch of different. There's 3 different pyramid sites, and I'm keynote on this trip in December through Bruce Cunningham, and. Yeah, there's a couple of other. I'm still shooting. I'm still filming and in production for the second series, and a couple of things got moved around. But those are the 3 big things: Victoria, Vancouver, Modern Knowledge, August 29th and 30th, and then this is December, the first week of December.
And what about your online stuff?
Well, I'm still teaching Interactive U. That's an online learning and social action network. Interactive-u.com. I've been teaching a cohort. I'm understanding a little bit more about what people need and how we can support them when they come in. But we'll teach you how to do research and how to make a film, write a book, all these things, but in a real personable, collaborative, tune to what your needs are. And that's really quite interesting because I think that the systemic distress in our system is making it really hard for people to focus and do personal development because, everybody's, surviving and people are sick and they need more money. And that's why I'm so aware of how patriarchy's got everybody on their knees.
Somebody just tweeted, Zahi patriarchy Hawass, in quotes. I was just dying. Pretty funny. Well, you're going to be in a whirlwind over the next, for the unforeseeable future. But as things develop, of course, I want to invite you back on. Keep us up to date. This is very exciting news, and for all of us, we've been waiting for something like this for quite a while, if not a lifetime. And we're on the brink of a very big discovery. And I want to thank you for that and all your hard work. And as the news breaks, please come back and visit.
Well, sure. And the idea would be that we can do a live feed from the site if we're allowed to do the thing. And I'm doing an Indiegogo campaign to finish the funding for the next series. So Pyramid Code 2, it's also been the working title of the New Atlantis. And the Indiegogo campaign isn't posted yet, but it will be within a couple of days. So if your viewers want to go, mostly people watch the Pyramid Code for free. and I didn't make the money back that I even spent on it. And so if people are interested in more, if they want to give up $10 or a little bit more, if they want to be part of the live feed, if we do the dig, and I'd really appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything will be on your website.
Yes, it sure will be. PyramidCode.com.
PyramidCode.com. Dr. Carmen Boulter, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure.
Always is. Thank you so much, Carmen. And you have a great night, and we'll be talking very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night.
Dr. Carmen Boulter. Unbelievable conversation. I had just tweeted out, thank you so much. That's big stuff is going on in 95 kilometers due south of the Giza Plateau. It's extraordinary. When this first broke, and I kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show tonight with her, when this story broke in 2008, I think I might have seen something on mainstream television. Then it started popping up on the internet, but I went and checked it out, and I seriously thought that this was we were going to have our own King Tut's tomb, and it was happening right now in our lifetime. Gatenbrink's door, if you remember, in 1995 when that broke, I thought that was going to be, and that also was pretty suppressed, pretty hardcore, but that was pretty significant. And then this rolls around in 2008, and I thought, okay, here it is. It's here. This is going to be one of the greatest things ever of all time, and it's going to happen right now in our lifetime. And here we are now. It's taken this long. December 2014, the scans were completed, and here we are in 2015, just a few short months later, and now she's going public with everything. It's extraordinary what is going on. And you heard it for the first time here tonight on Fade to Black. And it is indeed an honor to be a Fadernaut sometimes, isn't it? With that, let's take a quick break. I'll be back right after this. Take your calls. Maybe. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be back right after this.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Tuesday edition. My brain hurts. Thank you, Carmen. Absolutely amazing show. Amazing conversation. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel will be with us. And do go and read his article that I tweeted out earlier. If you haven't seen it, follow us on Twitter, @JChurchRadio, hashtag F2B, and you will see it there. And if somebody can go and retweet that really quick for me, I'll retweet your retweet, and we'll get that article out there from Bryce. And I wanted to check this out. A Pennsylvania. This comes from Open Minds, by the way. A Pennsylvania witness near Erie, Pennsylvania, reported watching a triangle-shaped object that glowed orange and moved directly overhead under 500 feet. According to testimony in case number 65789 from the Mutual UFO Network Witness Reporting Database. The witness had just finished fishing on Misery Bay at Presque Isle State Park at about 8:25 p.m. on May 8th, last week, 2 weeks ago, 2015, when the object first seen shortly after getting into his truck. He goes on to say, I proceeded to pull out onto the road, driving west toward Perry's Monument Bridge. From where I parked to the bridge, I was only a few hundred feet. As I approached the bridge, I looked to my left, which was south, towards Perry's Monument, and noticed a bright light near the monument up in the air. The light appeared to be moving toward me. The light was coming closer. The intensity of the brightness emanating from it increased as it neared. There were other people present around the monument area and parking lot, but they seemed oblivious to the entire event. The witness was having trouble driving and watching the object at the same time as he crossed the bridge. He went on to say, I was fixated on it. Driving a half in one lane, half in another, the object moved directly overhead. As the thing got directly over me, it slowed down and changed direction, almost as if it noticed that I noticed it. The witness pulled onto Perry's Monument parking area and put the truck in park and focused on the object. He went on to say, the craft was triangular in shape. It wasn't congruent. Interesting comment. It was solid, but I could not distinguish fine detail because the entire surface area was a bright, glowing orange, almost like steel heated in a blast furnace. The craft hovered at its original altitude over the road. I could not take my eyes off of it. He went on to say that the entire event lasted 3 to 4 minutes. Interesting. And one of the comments that I do have on this is, if I have a criticism when it comes to MUFON and this, and I understand why, but we don't have the witness's name. And it would, if the witness would agree to publish his name and get his name out there, then we could go and interview him ourselves and have somebody else go in, and another journalist, and then maybe an investigative reporter go in and question him directly. It's the only problem that I have with the anonymous side of MUFON is it leaves us wanting. And that's the only part that I have, because this is an interesting case. And the description and everything else we have time, date, location, other potential witnesses there, and we could get this out there and then see if somebody else saw something too as well. And that's the only part. It's just if there was a way that we could get witnesses' names in these individual reports to go public. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I must say that interview with Miss Coulter, with Miss Boulter, was really intriguing. And I called because I wanted to refine what she was saying. I caught the program late. So what she was saying is there were layers of large objects, large buildings is what it looks like, at differing layers.
Two layers.
Around,
yeah, 2 layers.
2 layers. Well, only 2. Okay, that helps. And she was discussing the upper layer at being, I believe, 150 feet.
Yep.
Did she mention what the second layer was and what depth it was?
Yes and no. I don't know if we got to that on the air. That's a great point. Yeah, I don't remember if we discussed that on the air. And I don't want to speak for her what we discussed off of the air. But,
no problem.
Yeah, but this is what I was picturing. If the rooms, let's just take an average height. Let's say that they were 8 to 10 feet tall. There's 2 layers at 150 feet. So I'm guessing that the second one was down another 15, 20 feet below that, because you would have a layer of dirt and sand in between the 2 layers.
Minimally speaking. And it could be even more, right?
Yeah, yes.
So what I'm envisioning is the pyramid at Giza with a huge number of buildings surrounding it for miles, or only in one location?
Okay.
Which one did you see yourself?
Oh, I got you. Well, there's one of the things that she brings out, if you... I don't know if you caught this part of the interview, but she said that they have the tip of a pyramid that is sticking out about 14 feet above that they could see as they approach the site. Now, how far that is underground, and I'm getting an echo, by the way. I'm
going to hang up soon. It was very kind of you to take it. Yeah, I remember her talking about it and the fact that its foundation was way below the level that it was showing.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank you. Let me get off the horn here and stop that interference. I sometimes get it on this phone line.
That's okay. What's your name?
My name is SJ. I do a show of my own called Stream of Consciousness on Revolution Radio.
Okay, fantastic. And, well, thanks for the call, but you're absolutely right. One of the points that she made, they don't know if it's a smooth-sided pyramid or if the sides were removed yet. But, yeah, I think that she is leaning towards a large pyramid with these rooms being built around it at some point. But we're not going to know until we excavate.
Boy, I sure hope we hear from her in a couple of years after... Now that Zowie is no longer part of the permit, at least a substantial part of the permit process.
Yeah, that's the whole hope here is that he's not going to run interference.
Roger that. Thank you for good radio.
Yeah, thank you so much. I cut him off. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. I'm so quick on the trigger sometimes. I apologize. Yeah, I know. With when she made that comment, and by the way, everybody, I have not seen the scans. She did offer that. Until the smoke clears on this entire thing. But there's a tip of a pyramid here that is sticking up and above, and I find that unbelievable. What a show tonight, and we're on the brink of something huge here, and I think we all know it. It's absolutely amazing. Anyway, back to the MUFON thing. I just wish that that the name was here, because I would like to talk to this guy directly. Also, really quick before I let you go, a 25-foot sinkhole has forced the closure of one runway at Dallas-Fort Worth DFW International Airport, a major hub. It's huge. 6 other runways remain in service, but airfield inspectors from the Federal Aviation Administration found the sinkhole this morning, in a safe area between a taxiway and runway 18L. I've got to just say this really quick. How do you spell fracking? If you eat at Chili's, if you eat dinner at Chili's, let me ask you, Fade or Not's a question. If you were eating dinner at Chili's and it arrives at your table, your dinner's there, would you actually take a picture of it with your phone and post it? Chili's, really? Would you post a pic of your food? Well, Chili's has just spent $750,000 for an egg wash that gives its buns for its hamburgers a nice little pretty sheen, so it looks good in pictures. That's right. A 6-figure sum. And it wasn't for a one-time deal. This is an annual expense, a recurring expense for beautifying buns. That's right. The CEO, his name is Wyman Roberts, says, I'm quoting here, it just makes our buns look great. They glisten. They shine. And the goal of this expensive 6-figure bun wash is so you can take pictures of your meals at Chili's and post them online on Instagram, Facebook, or other photo sharing sites. Chili's wanted some of its other foods to look good in photos too. They've invested in stainless steel holders for French fries because they look cool. That's right. Also, in an effort to make their ribs more photogenic, they're now cut and stacked instead of big slabs. And I tell you, I'm not making this stuff up. And that's why it's the news that you know nothing about. Right before the show tonight, by the way, a volcano has erupted in the Galapagos Islands. And it's for the first time in more than 30 years. If you haven't seen the video yet, streams of glowing lava is just flowing. It's insane what's going on there. The fear is, it's all of the iguanas and the other wildlife that is there. It's a sanctuary for so many species that are only on the Galapagos Islands. And I would hate for anything to happen, anything tragic, anything to go on. But the lava flows are there. Now, the park later said that the iguana's habitat may be out of danger, but we don't know. This is the only site in the world where the pink iguana exists. Crazy photographs. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out online. Galapagos Islands. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I'm going to get out of here. I had an extraordinary night. I'm brain dead. I had a big dose of smarts. This is Fade to Black. Very special thanks to Dr. Carmen Boulter. Thank you so much. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady is by Dale. Webmaster is Method of Signaling. Music is Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. He's on his way. He's on the road. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is by KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Bryce Zabel is with us. Don't forget, Thursday is a best of. Friday, our Contact in the Desert special live broadcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I want everybody to be safe. See ya.